I'm going to show you how to make a locked hemming stitch. As the name implies, a locked hemming stitch is specifically used to hem garments by hand. The locked part comes in because every few stitches you'll see that there's a little, it looks like a little knot, little extra bit right there. That's a lock. So what that does is it reinforces the seam you've just sewn. And if someone were on stage, for instance, and their shoe heel went through the hem of a long skirt or a cape or a long garment that they're wearing, some of the stitches might come out, but all of them won't come out because you've created these locks intermittently through the stitches. So when you have to go back to potentially make a repair, it's a less crucial repair, and it's also a safety measure because then more of the hem won't come down and potentially become a tripping hazard on the garment. So again, I have my fabric and I have it pressed up. My little hem. I have my thread already anchored in my fabric. This is another stitch that, because I am right-handed, I will be starting on the right-hand side of my fabric. Again, if you're left-handed, for the locked hemming stitch, you will want to anchor on the left-hand side of your fabric. The locked hemming stitch starts very similarly to the whip stitch, in that the first stitch after your lock you'll go no smaller than 3/8 of an inch, no larger than 5/8 of an inch. I like to do about 1/2 inch for your first stitch. Your needle will go above the fabric, above the fold of the fabric, and then into the fold of the fabric. You'll notice again I'm working on the wrong side of the fabric. My needle will come all the way through along with all of the slack of the thread for my first stitch. My second stitch is exactly the same. I will go above the fold of the fabric and then I will go into the fold of the fabric. Pulling all the slack of my thread through. And then I'm going to take a third stitch just like that, above the fold of the fabric and then into the fold of the fabric. Pull my needle all the way through. At this point, I want to lock my seam that I'm sewing. And to do that, instead of going to the next stitch a 1/2 inch away, right here where I've already sewn, I'm going to go above the fold and into the fold of the fabric again, right in that same spot where that last stitch is. And I'm going to pull my thread through. It's very similar to the action that you use when you're anchoring your fabric when you first start to sew, but you only do one of those and you do not loop your needle through the loop of thread as you're pulling it through. You just need to sew in that same little spot to create the lock on your locked hemming stitch. After that, proceed with another 3 stitches. On something short like this, I'm doing 3 stitches, and short, I mean this fabric is about 10 inches in length. If this were a big skirt or a sizable cloak hem or something, I might go every 5 stitches. You don't want to go too many because, again, the point of the locked hemming stitch is to save the need for repair just in case hem gets caught and gets torn out, which is something that happens in theater and other movement-based performances. So here's my third stitch. Again, you don't want to pull your fabric too tight. If you do, just gently smooth it out. I'm going to lock my stitch by going above the fold and into the fold in the exact same spot where I just sewed, and pulling my thread through. So I've got my stitches that are about 1/2 inch on the wrong side of the fabric, and then on the right side of the fabric you can see my little dots of brown thread coming through, and that is what you want to look at. very similarly to the whip stitch. And again, you'll just proceed with this hem until you either need to refresh your thread or you're done with your hem. Speed comes with practice, so don't worry. Slow and steady wins the race, especially in something like this, where precision and even stitches help to make your garment stronger, and your stitches, pretty stitches equal a strong garment. There's your locked hemming stitch.